As you can see now, let us move further with the other concepts, that is dual nature of electromagnetic radiation. So they also said that it's not that only wave nature is observed or only particle nature is observed. There can be dual nature, that is the electromagnetic radiation can show both particle nature as well as wave nature. And so the different concepts were explained under this. The important formulas I have just noted. Here, this comes when you study about line spectra. So it's clear to you, when a white light is passed through a prism, we get band of colors which we call as spectrum. All the colors are merged together, then we call it as continuous spectrum. When emission spectrum takes place, when electron absorbs some amount of energy, it gets excited to higher energy level, it will be stable there, and when it comes back, if it emits some radiation, if you pass it through the prism, then it scatters and the spectrum can be observed. And there, when you observe the spectrum, you do not get a continuous spectrum. Instead, you get band of lines this way. A discontinuous spectrum is observed, that is emission spectrum. So kind of spectrum for hydrogen is explained, that is line spectra for hydrogen as per Bohr's theory, it is explained. And you know about Rutherford's model, where he explained that J.J. Thomson's model, he said all the positive charges are distributed and electrons are embedded. And Rutherford said by alpha scattering experiment, which foil did he use? He used a gold foil there. A lead plate was used to focus, and then when it hit, he saw that in small angles there were deflection, in large angles there were deflection, even some of the alpha particles were bounced back also. So he concluded that it's not that the positive charges are scattered all over, but it is scattered in a small region in the center, and we can call it as nucleus. And the electrons revolve in circular path called as orbits. But he said it is similar to planetary system, which is not true. If it is similar to planetary system, then as the electrons keep revolving, it should, due to acceleration, it must radiate some energy. If it goes on radiating energy, then ultimately it may reach the nucleus and it may get into the nucleus, and there it is gone. So which was not true. Now line spectrum was explained based on Bohr's atomic theory. So here you can see, we know that the different lines are observed. Lyman, here what you need to remember is the N1, N2 values as well as the spectral region for it. They can ask the questions in different ways. If you know the basic idea of this, you can apply and you can know. Lyman series, N1 is 1, N2 can be 2, 3, 4, etc. where the spectral region is UV. For Balmer, it is 2, Paschen 3, bracket 4, Pfund 5. And this can be the next number onwards. If it is 4, this is 5, 6, so on. If it is 5, here 6, 7, so on. And spectral region, here for Lyman it is UV, for Balmer it is visible, for Paschen bracket Pfund it is infrared. And Rydberg's equation, you know, it is 1 by lambda, that is nu bar is given, which means it is wave number. Wave number is equal to R, 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square into Z square. You know what is R? R is called as Rydberg's constant. N1 and N2 can be the integers based on the lines. Z is atomic number. And as per Bohr's postulate, we have MVR, that is angular momentum. MVR is equal to NH by 2 pi, that is integral multiple of H by 2 pi. De Broglie's wave equation, lambda is equal to H by P. That is, de Broglie said that both wave nature and particle nature can be interconnected. Lambda represents wave nature, whereas momentum, that is mass into velocity, represents particle nature. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle states that you cannot simultaneously find the position as well as momentum of the particle simultaneously. So delta x into delta p is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Schrodinger's wave equation, again, it is delta square xi by delta x square. This x, y, z represents the different coordinate axes, and this xi represents the wave function. 8 pi square m by h square into e minus v xi is equal to 0. So this is about Schrodinger's wave equation. The very, very, very important part from this particular unit is quantum numbers. If you observe the question papers, or the most of the questions that are asked are from quantum numbers in this particular unit. So quantum numbers, need not mention that there are 4 important quantum numbers. One is principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number. Azimuthal quantum number is also called as subsidiary quantum number also. Then comes magnetic quantum number. It has different names. Azimuthal quantum number has different names. Magnetic quantum number, and then comes spin quantum number. You must know the significance of these quantum numbers as well as its values also. Principal quantum number, it's nothing but n means principal quantum number. It is denoted as n. Azimuthal quantum number is denoted as L. Magnetic quantum number as ML. And spin quantum number as M subscript S. What does principal quantum number tell? Principal quantum number tells to which orbit or which particular orbit the electron belongs to. It is telling you, it is giving you information about the shell of the atom. So imagine if this is an atom, it has different orbits. This is nucleus. This is n is equal to 1. After the nucleus, the first orbit is n is equal to 1, then is n is equal to 2, so on it goes. So what does the principal quantum number tell you? Principal quantum number tells to which orbit the electron belongs to. So what does it tell? It tells us about the shell of the atom. Principal shell of the atom it tells. So a value of n can be 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, so azimuthal quantum number L. So L means it tells us about the shape as well as size also. It tells us about shape and size of that particular shell. How does it tell? L is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. That means L means S. L is equal to 0 refers to S. L is equal to 1 is for P. 2 is for D, and 3 is for F. So what is it? If n is equal to 1, that means L is equal to 0. If n is equal to 2, L is equal to 0 and 1. So in simpler words, you can say the value of L varies from 0 to n minus 1. Magnetic quantum number tells about the magnetic orientation with respect to the coordinate axis. With respect to the coordinate axis, it tells about the orientation. And again, in L, we know S means spherical shape, P means dumbbell shape, D means double dumbbell shape. Again, F has a complex structure compared to these. Magnetic quantum number tells about magnetic orientation of the orbitals or number of orbitals also. It gives information about. So ML value is minus L2 plus L. So if L is equal to 1, what is ML value? That is magnetic quantum number is minus 1, 0, plus 1. So it tells how many orbitals are possible. Minus 1, 0, plus 1. 3 orbitals are possible. Same way, spin quantum number tells us about the spin, plus half or minus half of the spin it tells. And the other concepts here which we can understand is about Aufbau rule. Aufbau rule tells us how the electrons are actually arranged. 1s, 2s, 2p. So in this order, how the electrons are arranged, we get to know using this particular, if you remember this particular order, then we can easily write the electronic configuration for any given atom. That is about Aufbau principle. Then Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity tells, Hund's rule tells that while the pairing of electron takes place, always the single electron has to be filled and then pairing has to take place. Then Pauli's exclusion principle tells that an orbital cannot have all the 4 quantum numbers same. At least one quantum number must be different. So which quantum number? It can be like n can be same, L can be same, magnetic quantum number also can be same, but never spin quantum number. Spin quantum number, if for one it is plus half, for the other one it will be minus half. Otherwise they don't pair up in a particular orbital. So these are about the important concepts in structure of atom. We'll move further with the next concept, next important concept, that is periodic classification of elements. And in structure of atom, we have different concepts like nodal surfaces. What are nodes? Nodes are where the probability of finding electrons is 0. And we consider a particular space and we see where the probability of finding electron is 0. We call it as a nodal surface. Then we have shielding effect. Shielding effect is where the inner electrons shield the outer electrons from the nucleus. If you have nucleus here and the electron is somewhere here, then the inner electrons will shield the nucleus, that is outer electrons, from that of the nucleus. That is called as shielding effect. Effective nuclear charge means how much charge the outer electron can experience. That is called as effective nuclear charge. The nuclear pull that the outer electrons, if you have a particular electron outside, then how much charge it can feel or how much pull the outer electrons can feel, that is called as effective nuclear charge. So that's about structure of atom. Next, moving on to periodic classification of elements. In periodic classification of elements, however, you need to know Mendeleev's periodic law, where Mendeleev considered atomic mass number for the classification. Before that, you know about the Dobereiner's law of triads, where he used 3 elements of similar properties. And then Newland's law of octaves, then Mendeleev's law. Next comes Moseley's periodic law, which is also called as modern periodic law, where atomic number is used, and that is accepted even today. The modern periodic table. So in the periodic table, we know that we have a general picture of the periodic table this way, where we have S, P, D and F block elements, and in these elements again, S block elements, ns orbital, say n is equal to 1 to 7, p block, np orbital, where n is equal to 2 to 7, d block, n minus 1 into d orbital, where n is equal to 4 to 7. Here F block, n minus 2 into F orbital, n is equal to 6 and 7. So we shall see the general electronic configuration for this. What is the general electronic configuration for S block elements? General electronic configuration is ns 1 to 2. For p orbital, it is ns2, since s orbital is completely filled, and np can be 1 to 6. And you know group 1 and 2 comes under S block, and from group 13 to 18 comes under P block, and 3 to 17 comes under D block elements. 3 to 12. Here the remaining, that is lanthanoids and actinoids, constitutes the F block elements. And general electronic configuration of D block elements is n minus 1 D 1 to 10, ns can be 0 to 2. You need to know the general electronic configuration of these particular elements. So this particular one again depends, it can be n minus 1 again, considering the D block elements also. So this is about a general classification of the periodic table, where we know the different general properties here as well. the simple thing to say is that you need to have a proper picture of periodic table, because the question from this particular unit, there can be majority questions for your CET examination, because there's more weightage to up to 8 on this particular unit. Even basic concepts of chemistry also, where they can ask you about most of the elements from this. You need to know if they have given you a particular atomic number, you should be able to at least guess in which block it belongs to, which group it belongs to, and how actually you can write its electronic configuration, so that you can find or answer that particular question. And let me generally write the trend followed in this particular periodic table. In this periodic table, electronegativity increases, atomic radius decreases down the group. Atomic radius is increasing this way. This arrow mark indicates that from smaller atomic size, the atomic size is increasing. Electronegativity increases. Why electronegativity increases? Is because as we this means that here there is larger size and here there are smaller size. Because of smaller size, it is easy for it to accept electron. That is why electronegativity increases. Next, here ionization energy increases, electron gain enthalpy also increases. If you see across the period, electron gain enthalpy increases as well as ionization energy increases. Here non-metallic character increases, metallic character increases from right to left. So we shall discuss about this now. So what is it telling? So, you know what is atomic radius? Atomic radius is where it is about the radius of an atom, or say atomic size of a particular atom it means. Atomic radius, you know, we have a basic idea of the atomic size will be smaller, and as it moves down the group, the atomic size goes on increasing. Same way here, what it means, the atomic size is large here, it is large here. As we move across the period, the atomic radius is being decreased. Next, let us see about ionization energy. You know, ionization energy is reciprocal of atomic radius, so you can remember it the opposite way. Ionization energy, if atomic radius is decreasing from right to left, ionization energy increases from left to right, that way. Ionization energy increases across the period. Why it increases across the period? Because if the size is large, here the size goes on decreasing. Here the outermost electron is far from the nucleus, so it is easy to remove the outermost electron. As the size decreases, the outermost electron is closer and it becomes difficult for the removal of atom. That is why ionization energy decreases. So however you have an idea, you need to see where there is small size of atom. If there is small size of atom, then it is difficult to remove the electron. And you always know the second ionization energy will be higher compared to first ionization energy in most of the elements. Then electronegativity, ability of an atom to pull a pair of electron towards itself. Why electronegativity increases? That is, electronegativity goes on decreasing. Why it decreases is because here above the size will be comparatively smaller. Then the size goes on increasing. When the nucleus is closer to the outermost electron, the incoming electron feels the nuclear pull easily and it gets attracted. Whereas if the size is large, the incoming electron feels very less electron pull, because of which it can be attracted. That is why electronegativity goes on decreasing. So if you remember these trends, then it becomes easier for you to remember. Same way, electron gain enthalpy, similar to that of electronegativity. Then metallic character, you know, left hand side has major of metals and the right hand side has major of non-metals. A very, very, very important point is, the metals usually they form basic oxides. Remember this way. Here the oxides which are formed are basic. Left hand side are basic oxides. For example, sodium oxide, etc., potassium oxide, all those. In between you can see amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides like aluminium oxide, all those. Al2O3, amphoteric oxide. And the right hand side you have acidic oxides like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, or Cl2O. All these comes under this particular part which will be acidic in nature. So hope it is clear of what are the basic concepts that we need to concentrate on. Let's move on directly to the solution of the test paper. Solution of test paper then. If you look at the first question says, which symbol replaces the unit of atomic mass unit? So the question is being asked, which symbol replaces the unit of atomic mass unit, and the options are given as U, A, M and N. So we know atomic mass unit is also called as unified mass. So it is option A, which is the right answer. Atomic mass unit, U means unified mass. So we can write AMU or U also. So AMU can be replaced by unified mass. Second question is, which of the following sets of components form homogeneous mixture? Second question is related to homogeneous mixture where the composition is uniform throughout. So the first one is, options are phenol and water, sugar, benzene. Option C is silver chloride and water, and option D is ethyl alcohol and water. So this question was asked, and as per the concept of mixture, we see that phenol in water are partially soluble. So it cannot form a uniform composition mixture there. It cannot form a homogeneous mixture, because phenol, though it has ability to form hydrogen bond, a part of it, the phenyl part, remains undissolved. That is, it remains partially distributed as it is. So it cannot form a homogeneous mixture. Whereas sugar and benzene, you know, benzene is a non-polar solvent. So sugar needs a polar solvent to be soluble. So sugar and benzene are insoluble. Whereas silver chloride and water, again, they are partially soluble. So a part of it still remains, whereas ethyl alcohol and water are completely miscible, and hence the right option is ethyl alcohol and water. It seems that in an exam, the question was asked, the same question was asked, but the answer which was marked was phenol and water, but this one is the right answer, that is ethyl alcohol and water mixture. Next, let us see third question. Which is the percentage of carbon in urea, or what is the percentage of carbon in urea? So what is the percentage? You know, percentage of element is equal to mass of element. That means mass of carbon by molar mass of urea, NH2CO NH2. Remember the formula for urea, it is NH2CO NH2. Since percentage is asked into 100, here the element asked is carbon. So NH2CO NH2. NH2CO NH2, what is the molar mass? Nitrogen is 14, so 14 into 2 plus hydrogen, how many hydrogen? 4 hydrogen plus 1 carbon, 1 oxygen. So it will be 14 to the 28. Altogether you get it as 60. Substitute here. So it is mass of carbon is 12. How many carbon? 1 carbon you have, so 12 into 1. Molar mass is 60 into 100. So here it is 20%. 20% is the right option. 20%, option A. Option A is the right answer for this particular question. Moving on to the next question. Fourth one. The volume of 1 mole of any pure gas at standard temperature and pressure is always, okay. The question is asked, volume of 1 mole of gas at STP. So we know that volume of a mole of gas at standard temperature pressure is given as 22.4 liter. But in the option it is given in meter cube. So we know 1 liter is equal to 10 to the power minus 3 meter cube. Therefore 22.4 liter is equal to 0.0, here shift the point, 0.0224, it's like 14 meter cube. So option D is the right one. This is option D. Volume of 1 mole of gas at standard temperature pressure, and then just cross multiply. Fifth question is, the combining ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water and hydrogen peroxide are 1:8 and 1:16. Which law is illustrated? So for water and hydrogen peroxide, it is given 1:8 and 1:16. So the same two same type of elements combining to form two different atoms, two different compounds. Then if the ratio is same, which law it is? It is law of multiple proportion. Option D, that is law of multiple proportions. Law of multiple proportion. Next is question number 6. The SI unit for pressure. The SI unit for pressure is asked. Which is the SI unit for pressure? It is Pascal, no doubt in it. SI unit is Pascal, but when it is denoted in different units, you use torr and all those. Otherwise, SI unit of pressure is Pascal itself. Seventh question is, 1 nanometer is equal to dash meter. Nano means 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So the right option is option C. Option C is the right answer for 7th question. Question number 8 is, which one of the following has maximum number of atoms? Here you need some basic idea of calculation with regarding to moles of substance.